Okay, so now we're going on to our third block of our beginner's quilt, which is the Mosaic block. That's this one here. It's all half square triangles, so you've got quite a few different half square triangles to make in here, and we'll do one of each. So I'll just give you an idea of the colour combinations together. And so what you need to do is, once again, there's an A and an A1. That's the corner. You can see the corner, A and A1. So take your A, and on the back of it, draw your lines with your half square triangle tool, the Pauline Rogers precision tool, and to one of these A1s, pin it. It's better to pin, get it nice and get all the cuts all even, and then sew down the white lines. On the other side. So we've got to make 2 of those up, which I'll do the other one later. We've got to make up 4 of these. So on the back of the blue, of the purple, I actually have drawn some lines already. So I will pin those up, getting all the sides even once again. Down the white line. So as per instructions, you make 4 of those, of that combination up. And then we have to do two of this B and C combination up together. So I've drawn some lines on the back of that one, and I will sew these together. So then you've got 2 of those that I've got to do up. So we have now got 2 of the unit 1s sewn together, 4 of the unit 2s, and 2 of the unit 3s. So we need to cut all of these down the middle to create our half square triangles. Just measuring them, and from corner to corner, make sure that everything's okay. And we want to bring them over to the ironing board and iron them all out into their nice half square triangles. Yeah. Right. So on the ironing board, iron to the darkest, as per usual. Now you have to trim all your half square triangles back to 3.5-inch squares so that they all fit into the block perfectly. Just remember that line across the middle there is your 45-degree line, and you put that over the top of your seam. Just check that at the 3.5 that you can, because often you can get away with just not cutting the 4 sides. This one's okay, so I can just put that 45-degree angle over there and then cut 2 sides. Whoops, that slipped a bit. Got to really hold down tight. And then take the dog ears off, and you've got your 3.5-inch square. So just go through and finish all those off, and we'll come back and do the next bit. Now I've set out all of the little half square triangles as per the instructions on your pattern, and as you can see, they're all ready to be put into line. So one by one, pick up 2 squares. Good idea to pin them and put it back in the same spot you got it from. So put it back in the same square, in the same place. So I've now I've started to put the whole line together. So I put 1 and 2 together, 3 and 4, and then I've put those 2 into one line. That's a nice point. The second one I didn't get such a nice point. See the point down the bottom here? It's not so, it doesn't add up. So I'm going to unpick it, and look, better to unpick it and get a nice finish than to end up with something that you're disappointed with. So to get your point matching at the top, you can see here that I've got the 2 seams. So you get your pin like you do when you're trying to match up your corners. You put your pin in at the seam line, have a look on the back and see if it matches up with the seam on the back, which that does. About a 1/2 inch down or 3/4 of an inch down, and that actually matches up on the back. And then, so you're going to be sewing down here. I'll just sew that across and we'll see if we get a nice point. It's, you know, it's worth doing the unpicking, or as a lot of quilters call it, reverse sewing. Very gently go over that pin. Let's have a look. Look at that. Nice, even point. So just getting this last line together, we'll sew it. Okay. So now we have our 4 lines together, and we have to join those lines together to make the block. So we'll go, the seams need to be ironed different ways. So 1 and 3 can be ironed to the left. Let's just get this organised. Like that. So we'll go to the left for 1 and 3. It doesn't matter which way you go, either the right or the left, but just keep it consistent. Get it nicely pressed, turn it over, press the front. And then the 2nd and 4th to the right. So we're going to go that way. Right, so we'll turn that back over. And we'll add row 1 to row 2, and then row 2 to row 3, and then the top to the bottom. I can't emphasise enough getting your seams to match up. I know I've talked about it a lot, but you're going to get a beautiful quilt and it's going to be finished beautifully if you match it up. So don't forget, put a pin through your seam at the top about a ½ inch down and check if it matches on the back. If it doesn't match, which that didn't, move it over and try. That one's fit perfect. And do it for each one. So there's 3 little seam match-ups on each row, adding them together. That's perfect. Okay, we're going to sew this last line together very carefully. Slowly, slowly, no hurry, because you've got a lot of thicknesses to get through on some of these intersections, so you just take it steady. And I'm very slowly actually sewing over the pins because you want that nice finish on that intersection. Right. Take these pins out. And there you have the mosaic. I'll just give it an iron. And I tend to iron whichever way it seems to be sitting. Like if there's no real rhyme, no reason, that seems to be sitting flat that way, so I'll just iron it that way. And that one I'll do the same. All right, turn it over and give it a nice press on the front. And all the corners are lining up beautifully. Nice points, nice corners. That's your mosaic block, block number 3. Next step is to put your block together to Quilt-As-You-Go. I'm not going to go through each one exactly the same process, which is having your backing, wadding and block sandwiched together, but I will show you on each block where I've actually quilted mine so that you've got an idea and you're not sort of stuck. What I've done for this one is I've put the inch line on the outside of this purple block, and then just with my chalk pen go through and do a square through that on that little, it's, you know, like it's a square block. I actually think I made a mistake there. I think that's, yes, I did. So I put an inch and a quarter. So these have got a razor on the end, so you can just erase, so you don't get confused which line to use. And line up the inch with the purple, and there's that one there. And then what I did was exactly the same on the outside too. I just went inch from the outside of the purple. It's harder to see this one, but I manage, so I'm sure you will. So there was the inch there. And then on the inside, I just did it basically a little square. If you go in from the purple, you can just do it on an inch here too. So it's just a little square on the inside. Inch from the purple again. Looks quite effective, but basic quilting and very easy to do yourself. You know, you're not having to, I don't stress about quilting anymore. I used to stress when I had to try and quilt a quilt. I don't stress anymore. And then on these outside ones, I just, once again, do the inch. So that's ready to quilt. So to quilt it, just quilt on those lines. Do a little bit of a back stitch on the first, you know, because you're going to have to move your foot around. You know, do a back stitch at the start and at the end. Little bit of a back stitch. Okay, then move on to the next line out. Bit of a back stitch. Now for the ones in the white, as I said, they're a bit harder to see, but you can sort of see the indent in the material. And when you get to the outside here, don't stop it. Just sew along the edge of your quilt. It can either be within the on the actual block, just on the edge of the block, or it can be just on the outer edge of the block. So just so you're not stopping and starting all the time. And then I'm just going to go straight through right to the end, to this last little bit, rather than stopping and starting again. And straight down the side here again. One more. Easy as that. So just cut your little tags off here so that you haven't got bits, pieces. I think that's all. And take it to your ironing board. Give it a good iron. And that's your finished mosaic. So just put it in your pile of finished blocks, and then at the end of this we'll put them all together with the sashing.